اوكي اوكي. وجوازم المضارع قسمان: ما يجزم فعلا واحدا وما يجزم فعلين. So ما يجزم فعلين is going to have this sense of condition, right? Otherwise, it doesn't have the sense of condition. فالذي يجزم فعلا. So this is one of the problems with, I'm just speaking as somebody who's taught Arabic, is one of the problems with teaching Arabic through the classical texts, which are taught to Arabs, is that you focus on things that the student doesn't know, the Arab student doesn't know, but you don't give the non-Arab student things that he doesn't know. Okay? So, for example, here you're talking about the ending of the words. So the Arab doesn't know about the ending of the words because he doesn't speak proper Arabic. So you're trying to say, does it do jazm or not? Whereas as a non-Arab speaker, I want to know about conditional sentences. So tell me about how I say إذا جاء زيد جاء عمرو, لما جاء زيد جاء عمرو, لو جاء زيد جاء عمرو, right? And then build from meaning, right? Don't build from grammatical structures because that's not where I am, right? Um, don't tell me about, for example, you don't give me the grammatical structures of how to complain. Like, how do you complain? How to express sadness, right? So it's kind of like problematic, right? And so I remember for myself, I had this false sense of achievement because I have a kind of analytical mind, a kind of mathematical mind. And so when I did lots of grammar, I felt that I knew Arabic. Then you realize you don't know anything because you actually don't know Arabic language. You know Arabic grammar, but you don't know Arabic language, right? So here's case in point. You're telling me whether it does jazm to one word or two. You're not telling me how to make a conditional sentence in Arabic, right? So the use is very important. So normal language learning is based on use. Like how do you do this and what's this happening here? Those things, right? And so the one of the reasons for that pedagogical gap is because even for non-Arabs, Arabs and non-Arabs, that Islamic education was elitist. Meaning, if you're not super smart, you don't have to learn. It's okay. So the way that we look at education is mass education. Everyone it's a right of the individual to learn. So therefore, there should be really good pedagogy that would make sure that even if you're not that smart, you do learn things. Whereas they weren't doing that. The way that scholars see education as a fard kifaya, somebody who is able to do it has to do it, right? So it's not a right of the masses. It is a responsibility of the elite. So you're really, really smart. You're Imam Taftazani. You're gonna study books that only you can study, and you're gonna write books that you're only people who will learn from you can study, will understand, right? So that's why many of our books are very, very difficult to understand, like the old school, because it's actually elitist, right? The people who are average intelligence wouldn't actually get it. Average or below, they wouldn't get it, right? Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So it's not elitist, meaning like it's about, making sure wealthy kids stay wealthy. That's not what it means. But it's like it's not sacred knowledge for somebody who is not capable of doing it is neither necessary nor is it a virtue, right? It's not.
Would you say it's unironically meritocratic?
Yes, it's exactly meritocratic, or yeah, that's probably a better term that I use. Meritocratic slash elitist. So it's like basketball, or baseball, basketball. Are you 6'10"? No, go home. You know? There we go. You know? So like it's not based on, oh, everybody has a right to play in the NBA. That's not true, is it? So, right? And so the way that we view it, it's a bit like so there's a famous story of a Chinese basketball player who was like this. So I think he was actually bred. Like basically his mother was really, really tall, and she was basically forced married to a really, really tall um, a really, really tall man, and they had a really, really tall son, and he was just forced to play 10 hours of basketball, 6 days a week. Sorry, I'm getting killed by little kittens here. Um, Tearing my feet apart. Um, so it's a bit like that. So we would see that as Westerners, like, oh my God, that's really bad, right? That's really bad, right? As communists, they're like, well, it's not about you, it's about the country. And if we have a really good basketball player, this will help the country and help, our goals. And that's so a similar kind of thing. It's like, I don't really like fiqh. Is that why you study fiqh? Because you like it? You know what I'm saying? You study fiqh because it's important. I don't buy me. Does that make sense? So it's not, so it's very, very different to like, oh, as a dream, I always wanted to, here's Fatima as if a dream was for her to become a qadi, and the clerics in her country said that she can't be a qadi because she's female, but we're gonna, set her free. That's how they view it, right? My dreams to become a hafiz, and my Quran teacher said I wouldn't be able to memorize and I should go and just pray instead. But then somebody realized my full potential and did this, right? So there's some extent to it, but that's not the general way we see it. We see it as a responsibility. It's a fard kifaya. We need people to understand things. If you're not capable of understanding these things, it's fine. You don't need to do that, you know. Um, so that's the story with with Imam Taftazani and Al-Iji. Like it's basically like it's just the two of them in the classroom. It's like Um, and this is if you look at a lot of very intelligent people are like that, right? You're a PhD. Is a PhD mass education? It's not. PhD is you and your sheikh, right? There's like direct talaqi and munaqasha, right? That's a PhD. That's actual education, right? Like where the creating civilization, creating knowledge is happening, right? In principle, right? So that's actual knowledge. It was actually one-on-one. So real knowledge is kind of almost always one-on-one to some extent, right? Or at least a small group of people where there's actual debate and discussion, etc. And then the people who are there, so it's not everybody, right? So yes, of course, if min bab, husn khuluq, encourage everybody, right? There's one person who wants to attend the class. I remember like one of my teachers, there was a disabled guy who'd always come to the Quran class and he would always ask questions and the Shaykh would always give him attention. And he knew that he could not memorize to save his life. It's fine. But he would show him respect and that's fine as a general ihsan. But there's a big difference in the general ihsan that we show towards people versus the actual job at hand, which is we need people to understand and protect the deen. This is a job. It's not whether you like it or not, right? It's a job. It's an obligation as opposed to a right. It's a very different way of seeing things, right? خير. جوازم المضارع. This is قسمان ما يجزم فعلا واحدا وما يجزم فعلا. So case in point, Sheikh Hamza Karam Ali and Sheikh Suhail Hanif. I don't know if you're familiar with these names. So Sheikh Suhail Hanif, he's the head of Zakat Foundation right now in England, and Sheikh Hamza Karam Ali, Basira Education, and what's it called? I know what it's called, Kalam something, right? So they're both 16. They turn up to this rihla with Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, and in one weekend they do the Ajurumiyya and learn how to use Hanviya, and that's it. They basically do Arabic in one weekend, right? So I remember working with Sheikh Hamza Karamani, and we came to this conclusion. We were working on curriculum. We came to this conclusion that basically both of us were very bad language teachers because we just get it, like you just get it. Whereas somebody who doesn't just get it, good pedagogy is helping people understand who don't just get it. Like, I need you to break this down very slowly and methodologically such that the masses can get it, right? That's good pedagogy. So, whereas he just turns up basically in one weekend, does it. He's 16, that's it. Now I know Arabic, I'm self-taught. So it actually makes a very bad teacher, right? Or it's like a majdoob. Like, how did you attain ma'rifah? So I don't know, it just fell on my head. You know, as opposed to somebody who was like, I've done the spiritual path and this is difficult and these are problems I had and this came up and that came up and my nafs did this and then I had to work with this and my sheikh helped me in this way and sheikh helped me in that way and I saw my sheikh in with dealing with different students in other ways, right? How to get through something, right? This is tarbiyah, right? So, but here we're talking about there is a mission at hand. I'm going to get the elite, those with the greatest strength in whatever it is, and they are going to do نحو بلاغة صرف منطق fiqh usul, and it's going to be really, really hard, but they'll be fine in it. And it will be pedagogically bad because it doesn't need to be pedagogically good. They're fine, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
It was funny. It was funny. I think I mentioned to some of you I started skateboarding again. And so I go to the skate park and there's all these skate classes. And I'm like, I don't ever remember there being skate classes. Like you don't go to I don't remember going to a skate park and there'll be like somebody teaching somebody how to skateboard. Like you just did it, you know? It's like get on a skateboard and try and do what other people do, you know? That's just how it was. But then there's like, no, I want my son to learn how to skateboard or learn how to rollerblade or learn how to, I don't know what it is. You know, it's kind of like it's kind of funny, right? And I'm sure maybe in PE, right? I mean, I think skateboarding was in the Olympics, and maybe there'll be PE class like how to skateboard, you know, and this is this, and this is this, and this is right, like how to position your feet. Like you just work it out how to position your feet, you know. Wallahu a'lam. Okay. So he says ما يجزم فعلا واحدا وما يجزم فعلين فالذي يجزم فعلا واحدا لم, right, which is normally the preterite negative preterite, right? Or we call it the simple past, or we can call it the yeah. Not simple past, sorry. It's not preterite. The present perfect. So usually lem is the opposite of qad. Okay? Usually lem is the opposite of qad. So qad usually translates into the simple perfect. So the present perfect, sorry, in English. What's the present perfect? I have done. What does I have done mean? It means sometime between 1 second ago and a million years ago, I have done this. There's no specific time in the past, right? In English, I have done. That's what it means, right? As opposed to I did, which means at a particular time in the past. Did you see Jack, i.e., when he entered the room? Right? Have you seen that TikTok video? Meaning at any time. Did you see the TikTok video, i.e., when he showed it to you? Right? So usually lem means not, it means has not. Lem yeti Zaid, Zaid has not come. Okay? Not he didn't come. Usually ma ja'a Zaidun means Zaid didn't come. But it's not always the case. Okay? It's not always the case. Okay? Lanat in Dutch, do they have this distinction? I saw the film. So like in English, I can't say, I have seen Jack at 5 o'clock. That doesn't make any sense. You say, I saw Jack at 5 o'clock. So go ahead, son.
In Dutch,
Yes.
what I've noticed is in Dutch we use a lot more present perfect in places where English uses simple past.
Okay. So you don't necessarily mean the same thing then. Because that's like French. Like in spoken French, by default, you do not use you don't use the part. You use the passé composé. That's the default. You in French, you normally say, I have done this, I have done this, right? And so, but it's not actually a distinction between a specific time in the past or in the general past. It's not actually a distinction. In American English, they don't make a distinction, right? They say, hey, you ate, you know, that would mean, have you eaten? So in England, we would make a distinction, right? In colloquial English, we say, "Hey, bruv, have you eaten?" Right? So we might say it in a slightly different way, but we use the word "have you eaten," meaning today. Have you eaten lunch in general, as opposed to "did you eat at that time?" Right? So anyway, in Arabic, it's not exactly the same thing. قد جاء زيد does not necessarily translate to Zaid has come, but it often translates into Zaid has come. Okay? Meaning, in a general sense, he has done that thing. And ما جاء Zaid means Zaid, not Zaid hasn't come, but Zaid didn't come. As opposed to لم يجئ زيد, Zaid hasn't come. Okay? That's often the case. And I can't remember who I've seen. I think Sibawayh or one of the early scholars, they said lam is the opposite of qad. That's quite interesting. So it's not, because otherwise, what's the difference between lam yajit and ma ja'a? Right? Just going to answer the adhan. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Okay. Then we have lamma means not yet. Right? Lam yati Zaydun. Zayd has not come yet. Right? So again, we do not use this in classical Arabic. We only use this in pre-classical Arabic. لما يقضي ما أمره, he has not done what he has commanded him to do yet. Okay? Whereas they would say ليس بعد. لم يفعله بعد. That's how we do it in classical Arabic. Right? But in proper Fusha, meaning pre-classical Arabic, ولما, and not yet. لما يأتي زيد, Zayd has not come yet. ولام الأمر, right, which is like let's, right? Let him do this, right? Let them eat cake. Let him do this. And we can even command ourselves, لنذهب, let's go, right? لنقل, let's say, right? لنفترض, let's assume, right? We can do that as well, right? But you can't see لأمشي. You can't say let me go. That's not, you can't really say that. But لنذهب, ليذهب, let him go, right? Okay, لام الأمر ولام الدعاء, same thing. ولا في النهي والدعاء لا تعذبنا, right? لا تفعل. فلم لنفي الفعل في الماضي مطلقا. Notice مطلقا. That's why you get the idea that it's like has not, because that's what you mean. I have not seen that film. Hey, نفي الفعل في الماضي مطلقا. Okay. ولما لنفي الفعل في الماضي متصلا بالحال نحو لما يذوق عذابي. وقد تلحق, but it might happen afterwards. Oh, that's something else, sorry. Right, ولنفي الفعل الماضي متصل بالحال. Up until now, it hasn't happened. Right? Up until now. But notice this phrase here. This is I have not seen Jack. Right? But then we have a problem. I haven't seen Jack for ages. That's different though. So now you're qualifying the length of time that you haven't seen him, but it's not a specific time. But you cannot say, I haven't seen Jack at 5 o'clock. You can't say that. It doesn't make any sense in English. I didn't see Jack at 5 o'clock. I saw him at 6 o'clock though. Right? But I haven't seen him at 5 o'clock. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so not yet. وقد تلحق لم أن لما همز الاستفهام نحو ألم نشرح لك صدرك وألم يقول, right? Which is obvious, right? لام الاستفهام. ولام الأمر والدعاء لطلب الفعل ولا في النهي والدعاء لطلب الترك والذي يجزم فعلين حرف واسم. فالحرف إن باتفاق وإذ ما على الأصح وهما موضوعان لمجرد الدلالة على تعليق الجواب بالشرط. Okay, so these are حروف. So حرف meaning if, right? والاسم ظرف وغير ظرف فغير الظرف من وما ومهما وأي وكيفما. So كيفما is pretty tricky. So with with ma, man, and mahma, the way they work is the following. They will either be a mubtada, because they're an ism, it's a mubtada, or they will be a maf'ul bihi. But they can only be a maf'ul bihi under two conditions. Number one, it has the meaning of maf'ul bihi. Number two, the verb doesn't already have a maf'ul bihi. So if I said, for example, man tuhibba, man zurta azur, that's fine. Man tazur azur, that's fine. Man takrah akrah, that's fine. Maf'ul bihi. The issue is, what if you say man takrahu akrahu? Now you have a problem. So now what's the i'rab of man? Mubtada. Because it can't be the maf'ul bihi because there's already a maf'ul bihi. Okay? So it can only this man and ma and mahma, they can only be maf'ul bihi if they have the meaning of the maf'ul bihi, plus there's no dhamir already. Right? A is the same, but it's gonna be easier because you're gonna see the change of the word anyway. Kayfama is a bit awkward. So it's basically going to be a maf'ul mutlaq, right? كيفما تجيء كيفما تجئ أجئ. However, right? So that's basically like it's like saying, جئت مجيئك. I came in the same way that you came, right? So it's going to be a maf'ul mutlaq, but it's a bit weird. والظرف زماني ومكاني فالزماني متى. So this is going to be a ظرف زمان. And here's another problem, right? ظرف زمان is متعلق, right? Right? So it's متعلق to something. So the question is, so if it's متعلق, which verb is it متعلق to? So I say, for example, متى تجئ أجئ. متى تذهب أذهب. So if متى is متعلق to تذهب, when does أذهب happen? Do you both understand the question? So when you say this verb is متعلق to this, it means that that time qualifies when that verb happens. So أصبحت الساعة الثامنة, right? So we're going to say الساعة is متعلق to أصبحت, right? And that means that the time that you woke up was 8 o'clock in the morning. But if I say متى, I say متى تصبح أصبح. And I say متى is متعلق to the first أصبح. When does the second أصبح happen? So meaning-wise, we all understand what it means. This is whenever you wake up, I wake up. But how do you explain it grammatically? Because it sounds like both verbs are متعلق, that the ظرف is متعلق to both verbs in the way that the word if, it links two words. If X happens, Y happens. It's connecting the two words. And so but you can't have two verbs that are both متعلق to one ظرف, because that would mean there was two words that are both doing amal to one word. So is it في محل نصب because of this word or that word? So there's a problem in the analysis. The meaning is totally fine, but when you analyze it, it's a bit problematic. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, and this is another problem then, is the grammatical analysis should help you understand things. What if it doesn't? So sometimes like it doesn't actually help you, right? And so when Nahu no longer serves the purpose of understanding a sentence, it's now analyze it for the sake of analyzing it, or analyze it in any way that will make some grammatical sense, even if it doesn't help you understand it. It's not going to be very useful. Which I will come back to. come back to this inshallah next week. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.